Straight ahead on 12 News Weekend, paying tribute to a former Brooklyn Center mayor, we look back at the legacy of Dean Nyquist. Then a Plymouth company's invention for smooth sailing travel in the snow. But first, something that hasn't happened in years, and it will happen on Monday. 12 News Weekend starts right now. That's right, it actually hasn't happened since 1997, but it happens again Monday morning.
Governor Dayton has ordered all schools closed in the state on Monday because of the extreme cold. Temperatures are expected to fall into the double digits below zero, and it will feel even more frigid when you factor in that wind chill. At its Emergency Management Center in Medina, Hennepin County officials are also monitoring the cold. It's their job to coordinate with fire, police, and social service agencies to make sure they are ready for the cold.
We anticipate things like probably a water main or two will break. That frequently happens in the cold weather environments.
The rare step of calling off school happened 3 times when Arne Carlson was governor. In one instance in 1996, temperatures in some parts of the state had plummeted to 60 below zero.
This Arctic blast is also putting firefighters to the test. A recent townhome fire in Brooklyn Park highlights the problem. Firefighters say it became a 2-alarm fire because more resources are needed in this cold weather. They wear the same gear in the winter as they do in the summer, but they face different problems, like frozen water pumps and hoses. There's also a personal safety issue.
With the crews working, though, if they're sweating and then they come out, they tend to get, they're susceptible to frostbite, hypothermia, all those things that we worry about people being outside. I have to worry about the firefighters.
Firefighters change into insulated rubber gloves to keep their hands dry and warm when they're away from the fire, but of course, those melt in a burning building. Brooklyn Center is remembering a former mayor who passed away on New Year's Day.
Dean Nyquist served in the Minnesota legislature and for 13 years served as Brooklyn Center's mayor. He was 78 years old. As Alexander Renslow reports, his legacy extends beyond local politics.
At Brooklyn Center City Hall, there's good reason Dean Nyquist is a Hall of Famer. His fingerprints are all over this city.
He was a Brooklyn Center cheerleader, like all of us former mayors are, I guess. But just a really sweet man.
During his 13 years as mayor, Nyquist turned over his paycheck to the city and also helped earn Brooklyn Center the distinction of All-America City in the 1980s.
Which was very prestigious. There were only 10 cities in the states that got that award that year.
Former Mayor Myrna Kragnes served with Nyquist as charter members of the Rotary Club and says Nyquist's legacy includes starting the state's longest-running prayer breakfast, founded in Brooklyn Center more than 30 years ago.
Every one of us that goes had seen him every year there and know it was because of Dean Nyquist we had the prayer breakfast.
A husband, father, and grandfather, Nyquist's work stretched beyond government.
At the heart of Dean was finding a better way to do things.
An attorney and mediator, Nyquist, as seen in this 12 News footage, helped establish numerous organizations devoted to resolving conflict among families and youth. In 1983, Nyquist founded the Peacemaker Center, which Pat Milton headed up for 10 years.
Through that time, we helped kids that were getting in trouble with the law get back on track. And giving them a second chance was not only rewarding, but beneficial to the community in the process.
Nyquist is the second Brooklyn Center mayor to pass in 2 months. In November, Nyquist's predecessor, former Mayor Phil Cohen, died. Both men leave a legacy of community service.
And I think that the city of Brooklyn Center is much better off today because that Cohen and Nyquist worked together once upon a time in a very, very positive way.
Nyquist is survived by his wife of 52 years, as well as 3 children and 5 grandchildren. Well, the mayor of Robbinsdale is donating the first year of his mayoral salary to help fund a city project. Regan Murphy is putting his $7,000 salary toward building a pavilion at Lakeview Terrace Park. The donation actually fulfills the mayor's campaign promise. The pavilion will cost about $400,000. It would be home to community events and weddings. A small part of the mayor's salary will also go toward the first annual Birdtown running races. That's in May.
Police say cell phones could disappear in an instant even while they're in use. One reason, phones can be sold back to retailers or the parts can be sold for cash. It's become a booming industry and police say thieves are sometimes after more than just the phone itself.
for me, it's not so much the hardware, it's what's the data on there. I mean, there's people that are interested in that too. So I don't want to call it software, but the data that's on the telephone could be of value to someone, and it might have information on there that you don't want to share.
Chief Mike Goldstein says most phones stolen in Plymouth disappear from cars or at school. He recommends downloading apps that will encrypt private information on your phone, and at the very least, you should be able to disable your phone remotely.
In our Week in Review, once a scrapbooker's paradise, Golden Valley-based Archivers is going out of business due to declining sales. Archivers plans to close all its stores by mid-February, including its Maple Grove store. The company has 33 stores in 18 states. Archivers employs about a dozen people at each store. The company says new technology and a weak economy have had a major impact on the craft industry. It filed for bankruptcy protection last April. The investigation into a large apartment fire last July in Plymouth is now complete. The state fire marshal's office ruled the cause of the Vicksburg Village apartment fire to be undetermined. Investigators identified multiple ignition possibilities but were unable to isolate a primary source. While no one was hurt, the fire damaged 20 apartment units. And a historic church in Golden Valley will soon get a new addition. The 132-year-old Little White Church is owned by the Golden Valley Historical Society. It's a popular place for weddings, but also stores a vast collection of artifacts that can't be displayed because there is no room. That will change, however. The Historical Society is adding a 1,200 square foot wing under the church that will serve as a museum. The addition should be finished by next summer.
Coming up on 12 News Weekend, a slick creation for smooth travel. We'll show you a Plymouth company's invention to help people in wheelchairs navigate through the snow and ice.
Then later in sports, a Plymouth native will skate for gold at the Winter Olympics.
But first, you probably already know about the Arctic blast that's coming or that's here. But did you know a warm-up is coming? We're expected to thaw out, wait for it, on Thursday.
One of the rooms we built with the tallest wall that we have.
A family in Crystal is embracing the snow and cold by converting their front yard into one big snow fort. The Smiths' front yard is part snow castle, part luge run. The kids helped build it with all the snow removed from their driveway. The walls are at least 12 feet high, but it was Dad who did the heavy lifting.
Our dad, he really likes to play outside with us. He really loves being outside, so he really helps us to get outside. And he does a lot of the heavy lifting, as you can see. He stands on the ladder and puts all these big blocks up, so he helps us a lot.
Their mom says the kids put in 20 hours a week for the past 4 weeks into their snow fort. How about that?
I built one in my front yard too.
There you go.
It takes up that much time.
Traveling on foot isn't exactly easy with all this ice and snow, but imagine trying to get around in a wheelchair.
That's where a Plymouth company comes in. It has a new creation for smooth travels. Here's reporter Sonia Goins.
Tracy and Sam Tabeka have been in wheelchairs since they were both young.
I was in a car accident when I was 8.
But the couple is not letting the chair confine them. Both are avid wheelchair racers.
Twin Cities is a hard one to qualify at.
They like to play and work outdoors, but that can be worrisome in the winter.
Your wheels just kind of bury into the snow, and you don't go very far very fast.
I think every wheelchair user has probably caught their front wheels in the snow and fallen out. But if I lean forward and push hard, they're going to dig in.
This is what it's like to wheel around in the snow.
If the snow is, a lot harder and crunchier, it would be even more difficult to do.
To make life easier, Tracy and Sam are using a new device called wheel blades.
They're like little skis and you just snap them on your front wheels, and you really don't have to worry about tipping out forward because they're not going to let you go anywhere.
Wheel blades are attached to the front wheels.
Okay, you want to do your wheels first? Sure. You can really go fast with them, where I would never do this just with my wheels, because they would catch for sure, and then I would flip right out.
Now Sam and Tracy can do things like walk their dog.
Rocket, come on.
Without getting stuck in the snow.
They really slide along real nice, and they allow me to keep up with Rocket.
Wheel blades are distributed by Plymouth-based Autobach.
I think they're great. You know, it's they're easy to use, and they really allow you to push through the snow like I haven't been able to before.
Our daughter's 3, and she wants to do all the things that all of her friends do, all the other kids do. So this allows us to be able to get out with her and go do those things.
In Rogers, Sonia Goins, 12 News.
Wheel blades sell for about $350 a pair. Coming up, a Robbinsdale man's impressive legacy through sculpture.
But first, Maple Grove goes for a championship at a holiday boys basketball tournament. That's coming up in sports with Jay Wilcox. Welcome back. Jay Wilcox joins us now with sports and Olympics coming up. Sounds like that we have a local tie here to talk about.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, obviously. First time Olympian here, too, and it's going to be a great hockey tournament, certainly, again. A strong month of December on the ice helped lead to a great start to 2014 for a Plymouth man. On New Year's Day, Blake Wheeler was one of 8 Minnesotans named to the U.S. Olympic men's hockey team. The 27-year-old Wheeler netted 10 goals in December for the Winnipeg Jets, including 2 in a recent game against the Wild. Wheeler played hockey and football at Bracken and won a state title in each sport for the Mustangs. Born in Robbinsdale, Wheeler grew up in Plymouth and played in the Wayzata Youth Hockey Association. Maple Grove took aim at a championship in their bracket of the Bethel Holiday Boys Basketball Tournament early in the week. The Crimson in white against Bloomington Jefferson. Isaac Collins drives it in from the wing and gets a tough shot to drop here, plus a foul. Maple Grove trails at 14-11. Jefferson answers with a nice baseline drive here by Kyle Lynch. He leads the Jaguars with 14 in the game. Taylor's shot gives it up for a better look to Tyler Barker, and he nails a 3 for the Crimson. They trail it by 6 at this point. Final seconds of the first half, and Schott gets it away just before the buzzer. The Crimson end the half on a good note, but the Jaguars are still in the lead. Second half, Matt Lindgren with a quick release jumper off the inbound play, and Maple Grove's within 31-26. They keep fighting back. Tywan Pickford turns the corner and gets the layup to spin around and drop here. It's tied 37-all. Pickford scores 11 to lead Maple Grove. Tied at 40, Collins with a great play as he drives, sets up Jake Sterling for a big hoop. That helps Maple Grove claim the championship trophy with a 44-40 win over Jefferson. At Augsburg, Hopkins meets St. Paul Johnson for the boys' title. Hopkins running as John Warren outlets to Vincent Shahid over to Stefan Sharp with a layup, and the Royals go up early. The Governors lose track of Sharp here on this inbound play, and he gets 2 points. It's 13-3 Hopkins in the opening minutes. Shahid goes cross-court to Jake Wright, who makes the nice fake and then nails a 3, and the Royals go up 19-9. They challenge the shot here, and the rebound is tipped over to Wright. He sends it ahead to Noble Fonboy for the layup. Hopkins wins the title with a 78-69 win. Brooklyn Center's boys also win the title at the Trinity Tournament, beating Cristo Rey Jesuit 79-72. Kai Clark had 27 to lead the Centaurs. The Schwan Cup hockey tournament features a number of different 8-team divisions in its annual boys and girls holiday tournaments. The North Metro girls facing Sun Prairie, Wisconsin in the quarterfinals. First period, the Stars' Leah Yonkers with a shot, but it's saved by Sun Prairie goalie Danny Delkin. Later, it's Cougars forward Claire Johnson with a shot on net. Hannah Paulson, though, coming up with one of her 17 saves. Second period, the Stars are up 1-0. They create a turnover. Margot Coombs passes to Olivia Fredrickson, who shoots and scores. It's 2-0 North Metro. Sun Prairie, though, gets one on a 5-on-3 power play. Jada Ward with the wrist shot, and it's a 2-1 game after 2. The Cougars add 1 in the third to send this one to OT. In the extra session, Tatum Manning puts a shot on net for the Stars. Anna Ballweber gets to the rebound and bangs it home. North Metro wins it 3-2 Stars as the final. They place second, losing 1-0 to Eastridge in the final. Well, how does weather affect fishing in the winter? Terry Tuma tackles that topic in this week's Channel 12 Ice Fishing Tip.
I just had a question asked the other day about does a snowstorm or falling snow affect ice fishing success? The answer to that question is definitely yes. And what it does is very similar to rain or a thunderstorm in the summertime. And so what we need to do is really understand, to get out there, just prior to that snow falling or prior to a snowstorm, you're going to have some very good success, but it really turns the fish on. But we have to understand that means that a front is coming through. So therefore then, right after that snowstorm, the first day after that snowstorm, you're going to see that bite slow down. The second day is what's going to be a real tough bite. And the third day, now the weather has stabilized, so the bite is going to pick up again. But we still can catch these fish when that cold front is sliding through. And here again, we have to just finesse smaller baits, smaller lures, subtle jigging action, and we are going to be successful. Be sure to tune in next week for another tip right here.
Thanks very much, Terry, and obviously a lot of ice being made on these cold nights in the last week here.
That was a pep talk to get out there.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, thanks, Jay.
You're welcome.
Now, you could say this next story, he's had a hand in shaping the world.
From the local car wash all the way to Disney World. Up next, meet the Robbinsdale man with a perfect touch for design. Well, finally, a Robbinsdale man with an eye for design.
Bob Johnson has had a decades-long career as a sculptor, and chances are longtime Twin Cities residents will know his work. You could get an American history lesson inside the basement of Bob Johnson's home.
For my amusement.
From famous statues to his own designs, everything here is what Bob Johnson made in his downtime.
Sculpture is so labor intensive.
But it represents only a fraction of the work he's done on a much larger scale. For years, when a business needed a 3D design, Bob Johnson could make it.
I think I made 9 of those octopus car wash.
He made giant teeth, he made bank signs, he made statues for parks and trees for Disney World.
There I am out in Oregon making a mold of this.
But perhaps one of his most well-known creations were the 2 cows he did for Ewald Dairy.
Got so much response, he says he's going to change all of his advertising to sculptured heads.
The sculpture landed on the cover of a national advertising magazine in 1954.
My wife thought I would be on Easy Street.
Not quite, but it made for an interesting career.
I like to think that my ability to solve structural problems is almost more important than being a fine artist.
Even at 91, Bob Johnson is still designing. Whether a snow sculpture in his yard,
it lasted until it melted, which wasn't very long.
Or a new idea he can't wait to try.
Don't you think it'd be fabulous to put a seal inside that iceberg?
And when that's done,
just put it on the shelf.
He'll move to the next one. And after he returned from World War II, one of his first commercial projects was making papier-mâché floats for the Orange Bowl parade in the Minneapolis Aquatennial. So he's done a lot of cool things.
Talented guy.
Definitely. That's all the time we have for now. Have a good weekend, everybody.
See you Monday at 4.